that when you really did skip school that day and you went to go to the beach with your friends, you wouldn't have told it then. You lied to your parents when it happened. But now, because you're both grown and the relationship has changed, you feel more comfortable that you can now talk to your parents. My dear daughter, if your relationship with your mother or father feels difficult, if you love them, but sometimes it feels a little shifty, if you feel more responsible and even more tired in the relationship because of sometimes conflicts and misunderstanding, even though you love your parents, this episode is going to put the words in your mouth to what you've been feeling. Today, we are talking about becoming a daughter. Because becoming a daughter does not stop at birth. It only begins there. And sometimes it asks more of you than you really was expecting. Now, hey, my Mama Faye family, come on in. Your journey has brought you here. Take your seat and sit down and relax, because the next couple of minutes is going to be just what you need. I'm Mama Faye for those of you this is your first time, and I am on a mission to elevate women who are becoming, women who are growing into themselves in real time, and women who hold families, careers, relationships together. I bring my lived experience as a wife, a mom, a nurse, a leader, a coach, and a woman who has walked through many seasons in life. And this particular podcast is for women who knows she is becoming something great and is ready to understand what that really means. Now, this week, I said we are going to talk about becoming a daughter and the relationship and how it changes. We'll start with the birth. From birth to 18, the relationship is very clear. Your parents are the providers. They protect you, they feed you, they put clothes on your back, they shelter you, and they guide you. They even discipline you. But they also create the fun times, and they also give you discipline and structure. Yes, there is a real dependency for provision and protection. There is an obligation on their part to prepare you for life and to live a better one than theirs. They're preparing you for your future. And often they feel responsible, and they also feel the that they need to make you happy. But then something shifts. You grow up. Now you're earning your own money. You're thinking your own thoughts. You're building your own life. You're creating your own routines, and slowly the relationship starts to change from authority and dependence to a more, hopefully, friendship if you're lucky. You may become more open about your life now. You may reflect back on your childhood and finally say what you really was going on. You may understand your parents in a ways you never did before, because now they feel like they can open up to you too and share with you a parts of their lives that they kept from you for many, many years. You begin sharing your old memories and giving context to what really happened. The conversations are more honest. Like that when you really did skip school that day and you went to go to the beach with your friends, you wouldn't have told it then. You lied to your parents when it happened. But now, because you're both grown and the relationship has changed, you feel more comfortable that you can now talk to your parents. And then the parents also tell you things about their childhood that they would have never told you had happened in their lives before. And you think that you're dealing with a whole different person. You start deciding which values you're going to, as a daughter, move forward in your life. and which ones you're going to stop in your and leave it in your past. And because of that, it can cause you and your mom and your father to have conflicts between you and your parents. And let's not forget, there are generational differences that show up too. Whether we would like to admit it or not, our environment shapes our thinking. The world that we grow up in has everything to do with how we think, how we feel, how we deal with life, because our culture and the generation and the rules begin to start to look a little bit different. Now, remind you, standards and values and character never change, but the culture can. And so many times technology, all of that will affect us in a way that can change our lives and to change our children's lives forever. Now, sometimes because of the differences, there becomes real tension. Sometimes there is a little pride involved, as it will be on both sides. And for parents, it may feel that you as a daughter may not make the right decisions, and worse, end up in dire consequences. And this is every parent nightmare. So a lot of times, because they feel that way, they will respond to you from that fear. And sometimes these distances can even cause differences rather can even cause us to have distance, and if you allow it, really, in a relationship. Some people don't even speak to each other anymore because they can't get past these differences. And if you are able to still keep relationship and maintain relationship, then come the senior years for your parents. And this is where many women are right now. The roles may be slowly reversing. You, the daughter, may now become the decision maker for many of the decisions about your parents. You may be the one managing all the doctor's appointments, the medication, the finances, the safety, and the housing decisions. And you are going and are doing this while balancing your own relationship, your children, your career, and your own body is changing now too, while still trying to maintain a level of spiritual growth, and many times trying to excel in your own personal goals, because you are still becoming, and actually it is while you are still becoming someone's daughter. Remember, I said the becoming process now is becoming clear to me more and more that this is a process in every area of our life that we have to walk through. We don't get to get a manual. We can learn, we can get resources, but it still takes us walking through each one of these paths in order to become the thing. So now let's pause for a moment. And I want to know, where are you in this stage right now? Are you having conflicts over values, boundaries, and approval of your parents? Are you responsible where you have to take care more than you feel you can handle? Or are you grieving the parents' relationship you used to have and don't know how to get it back? Or have you never had a good relationship with your parents to begin with and want to know how to start? Or are you overwhelmed by what is now required of you? You're not wrong for feeling all of this. Really, research shows that daughters especially are often carrying the majority of caregiving responsibilities, even when they have siblings, usually brothers. The role shifts between aging parents and adult daughters, and it can increase your stress, guilt, and conflict if the boundaries are not clear for both you and the parent. And in many communities, expectations around caregiving include that you have to maintain a level of loyalty. This is where that silent pressure placed on daughters become really strong, and they become self-sacrificing. And that pressure is really real. and it deserves for you to really acknowledge it. Because becoming a daughter in adulthood is about learning how to honor your parents without abandoning yourself. It really is about balancing respect and boundaries. And it's about loving deeply without losing your identity. And it is also about preparing yourself for role reversal, because it will begin to happen. If you are fortunate that your parents are still alive, you now are slowly, those roles are now reversing. And you got to do this with wisdom, and you got to do it without panicking. Now, let me give you some proven, simple steps that you can do, start using this week. You can start these particular steps if you are experiencing this. And I know that if you are a daughter and you have parents, you are experiencing some of this. Now, one of the things that we want to do, and it's very important, is have one clear conversation. Pick one topic, just one, and make it simple. Ask your parents what they want, if ever they need your help with money, their health, or their housing. Because you as a daughter have to come clean too about what your expectations are too. And so both of you have to now start to talk about your expectations. And if you're smart, you will write some of this down. Because I can remember myself, I've had many conversations with my parents over the years. But as they begin to age, I began to notice that I had to try to think back to what did they say? What did they say about this? Because I was paying attention as we were talking, but some of it, of course, get lost over time, because maybe you had that conversation years ago and you all never revisited that conversation, and you think because you had the conversation one time that is okay. But what happens is over time you forget, and also too, life changes, and how they feel about things that they may have talked to you about maybe even 5 or 10 years ago, they may not feel that way now. And you are changing. And so things about you have changed. Your life has shifted as well. So having these clear talks will help reduce the stress, and that will cause less confusion later. And yes, I've had many of these conversations, but sometimes they were not on a continual basis, because things change as you live and life start lifing. Also, set one loving boundary. Say what you can do and say what you cannot do. This is very, very important as well, because many times, what should I say? You maybe have resentment. You may have resentment when you know that you cannot do something, you know that it is overwhelming you, and a lot of times there's this fear of saying no. And that can happen not only with the daughter, with the parents, but it can also happen the other way with parents with their daughters. So you have to be able to set those loving boundaries, but also set these boundaries both ways. Sometimes we want to set boundaries, but want the other person to sacrifice when you need them. But then you don't want to you want to set boundaries. So we got to make sure that those boundaries are balanced and allow your parents to set their boundaries too. Because what's going to happen is those boundaries are going to protect your love, and both of you can benefit in the long run, because it's very clear how you feel and how they feel. Now, I caution you, because sometimes our emotions can get involved and it can cause us to have a strain on the relationship. So, but one of the things we have to remember is that our parents and the mom-daughter relationship, the father-daughter relationship, has to be a relationship that both of you can enjoy well into the future. So I would encourage you as a daughter to build one support plan. Do not try to carry this alone. Talk to your siblings, talk to your spouse, and talk to your children as appropriate, because a lot of times we will go into isolation and you're feeling one way, your siblings, which means your brothers and sisters, are feeling another way, and you all have to come together. And I advise you, something that I learned after both of my parents were gone, is that you need to do this on a consistent basis. Do not just have one talk, but you need to open that door and have more than one talk, because it's very important that you all, as brothers and sisters, are on the same page. You may not agree with each other, but you need to know where each other person feel and how they feel about whatever it is. And if you have a relationship with a partner, you need to be having that conversation with them as well, because they need to know how far this is going to go, how this is going to impact you and that relationship as well. And so you want that relationship to stay intact, so you have to have that conversation with them as well. And then your children, a lot of times when they are of age and they are of a certain age, it's very important to include them as well, because a lot of times they can help with little things. There are little things that you can have them to help you with, to be able to help make it better for your aging parents, and also take some of the burden off of you yourself. I can remember myself when my father was getting older and needed a lot of care and help around the house, that my adult children, was able to come in and give relief. They were able to take for appointments, to take for errands. They were able to be a big help. So as a daughter, I'm mainly talking about daughters today, because we're talking about becoming as a woman. And so as a daughter, you need to also include them in that process. And what it does is it also helps them to learn how to give back to their grandparents, because many times the grandparents have given to them, and it's time for them to show that appreciation and gratitude as well. And it is also important that everyone is on the same page, as I said, and now know where everyone else stands, and what aspect of the relationship really needs to be worked on. Because when you come together and your ideas of how one person think it should be and another person think it should be, now you know where they are. And hopefully, if you all had a strong love bond, you will all try to work on it to at least come to a point where you all can come to an understanding. Because also, I include trusted and engaged pastors, therapists, if those of you who have therapists, and friends. Sometimes they're family friends who've been a part of the family for a long time, and many of them wants to be included, who really have been there through the years. They can help provide additional support, even if it's emotional support. They can help provide some of that support too. A lot of times women who share responsibility have had less burnout, and it causes you to have better health. Now, these are not complicated steps, but they are powerful. And now I want to take this time and I want to check in with you on our becoming goals for this week. And my goal this week is family connection. It's reaching out to family members, strengthening my bonds, and not waiting for a crisis to now decide that I want to reach out to one of them. So that's going to be my goal for this week. And what is your goal that you're working on this week? Are you becoming more honest in your relationship? The one that we just talked about, the mother-daughter bond in that relationship? Are you going to try to be more balanced, more prepared? And if you all have a rift in your relationship, are you going to try to heal that relationship? You're going to need each other, and the benefits of being able to have a wonderful relationship with your parents. And although for me, it was tough as they got older, but I just love the fact that I had that relationship because I learned so much from them and it was so valuable. So I do encourage you to heal that relationship as much as you possibly can. And I want you to check out the 20 becoming goals most women are working on this year, because you may want to choose one of those goals yourself and begin the process. And if you can, please leave a comment and let me know what you are, or what your becoming goal is and what you're working on. And you can reach me on substack.com to connect about your becoming goals. I do really read those messages. Before I close, I want you to hear this clearly. Becoming a daughter is not about going backward. It is about evolving forward. You can respect your elders and still protect your well-being. You can honor your family and still grow spiritually. And you can still be there for your parents as a daughter and still avoid the burnt out. And now next week, we're going to go in about those caregiver roles. Because for some people, you are in a caregiver role. It may be your parents. Sometimes it can be other ones, but we're talking probably terms of as far as being a caregiver, because many people find themselves in this particular role. And it's not something that you necessarily choose. You were the chosen one and having to care for others, and while still becoming in your own goals. And we'll talk about how you grow spiritually while caring for others, how you honor your family while still protecting your well-being. And we'll talk about how rebuilding yourself after caregiving loss or long seasons of responsibility. So it's going to be a good one. You don't want to miss that episode. And I want you to remember, becoming is like being on a football field. You have to be both offensive and defensive. And you have to have a strategy to know when to move the ball forward, and you have to know when to stop the ball from working against you. You must have a mindset and a will that you are always playing and strategizing to win. And in this season of becoming a daughter, you are not just reacting, you are going to be strategizing, and you're going to be growing and learning in the process. And if this episode really helped you today, I want you to continue to follow. And for those of you who have not, subscribe. Leave a comment and drop that hashtag becoming, so I know that you are on this journey with me in some fashion, in some form. And continue to listen and invite others to listen to the MOMAFEY-HT podcast, Becoming Me podcast, and it is on MOMAFEY-HT.podbean.com. That's where you can listen on more than 8 different podcast platforms. And I also have a Substack, Motivate Moment by Mama Faye, and subscribe there on substack.com. And what happens is it will come to your mailbox, your email, and you'll be able to just hit that button and play. So and I also want to let you know that you can subscribe for free to the Becomers newsletter. I created this newsletter to complement this podcast, because what happened is this week I'm already going to unpack the stages of becoming a daughter, but I'm going to go into more details about those conflicts, those values, those boundaries, and about how you can handle those things. And I'm going into more details. So you want to read that. It's a quick read, so that you can have more information about that. And if you want information on everything becoming, you can go to mamafayhometraining.com/becoming me 2026. Now, don't forget to follow me on all social media platforms so you can stay connected, and you can also get to see how I look and what I'm doing. And remember, you are not just managing your daughter and your parents' relationships. You are becoming a daughter through all of this. All right, I'll see you next time.
And I got something to say.